And then we also work with, especially at the federal level, through coalitions such as the National Sustainable Agriculture Coalition. Um, okay, and then as far as education outreach, this is where a lot of our work is done, especially at our office in Syracuse. We provide farmers, gardeners, eaters, and food system advocates with opportunities for education and networking, mainly through events such as our annual winter conference and our summer on-farm field days, but also with web-based tools such as our food and farm guide and price index, which I'll tell you a little bit more about in a bit. So as I mentioned before, as the outreach coordinator, this is the body of work that I'm most involved with, where I spend most of my time. I also do some fundraising work, which is something that's hard to get away from working for a nonprofit, especially a small one like NOFA. We only have, I believe it's 7 employees at the moment, so we're pretty small. We wear a lot of hats. Something to keep in mind when you are deciding where to work, and if it is in the nonprofit world or any organization, you know, the size of the organization or business can dictate how many hats you wear. I personally like working for a small organization because it means that I get to do a lot of different things, which I enjoy. So my position is partially funded by 2 USDA Farmers Market Promotion Program grants. One is administered by our organization, and one is administered by another organization, Fair Share CSA Coalition in Wisconsin. So with the CSA project, the one that's administered by our partner in Wisconsin, I work with the network of organizations that serve farmers, and we work to aggregate resources for farms, specifically related to community-supported agriculture. Currently at the moment, I am interviewing farmers and putting together some profiles, best practices for CSA farms, and this is really timely since in light of COVID-19, a lot of farms are looking to direct market, meaning they are going to sell directly to customers rather than, say, wholesale, growing through a grocery store. So there is a great push for that right now in setting up online shops. So working with a national network, we can all share resources and put the best ones out there. So that's kind of all I'll say about my CSA work. There's a few more projects, but that's a small part of what I do. It's only a couple of hours a week, but it really has proved to be a great alliance to be a part of. So the project that we administer at NOFA New York is a project that aims to bridge the gap between consumers and farmers. The Farmers Market Promotion Program funds projects that promote direct marketing. So again, marketing straight to consumers. So one of the biggest things that the biggest parts of the project that I work on is overseeing the development of a mobile app, which we're hoping will launch in the fall. So the app will include a food and farm guide, which currently exists on our website. And it's a guide that allows consumers to search for NOFA certified farms and businesses by location. So say for instance, you are looking to join a CSA program, then you can search for a farm within 50 miles of wherever you are located, and you can search for CSA. You could also search for farm stand, etc. We're currently reviewing this guide to see how we can make it more relevant to the circumstances. Currently, we have a lot of farms that are switching the way that they're marketing, so we're going to try to figure out how to make sure that information is really up to date, so stay tuned. We also have, as part of the app, an organic price index, which farmers use to inform their pricing. So essentially, it's a bank of prices. If I'm a farm selling at the farmer's market in New York City, I can input the price of, let's say, a head of lettuce, And then another farmer who maybe doesn't know exactly how to price their item, the same item, can look up and see what that price is going for. The pricing information is updated in real time, and it is also, it stays on there historically, so you can look at prices from a year back. So that can be really useful. We're planning, once we get more robust data, to be able to do some really useful analysis year to year, and just see how weather patterns or things like COVID-19 affect pricing. So there's that project, and still trying to figure out exactly how we're going to work on collecting data for that project this year. Last year we paid data collectors in 5 cities across the state to collect and input prices. So I'll have to decide how we're going to go about doing that this year. The third component of the app is a farmers market locator database, and that is to help consumers access farmers markets. It also could be helpful to a farmer who doesn't sell at farmers market and maybe is interested in selling at a farmers market but needs to see which markets are in their area. So that's the third component. So in addition to the app project, I oversee the data collection project, which I mentioned before. And I also plan workshops for farmers and consumers as part of this grant-funded project. So the farmer workshops typically highlight organic growing methods and ways to start or improve direct marketing to consumers. So as I mentioned before, if somebody wants to see how a farm is set up for CSA, it might be set up a little differently than, say, a farm that has a farm stand. If you have a CSA program and you pack your boxes ahead of time, you might have to have an area set up just for packing. Whereas if you're, say, a farm stand, maybe you don't need that sort of space. Just as one example, you also might you would plan your crops a little bit differently with CSA farms. Their members typically really enjoy a good variety, so the stress on your crop planning is going to be on a lot of variety and having enough for the entire season. So it's quite a different type of farm planning than perhaps if you had wholesale accounts. And a lot of farms, I would say, typically have more than one marketing approach. And so you might consider all of those when you're planning. As I mentioned before, we do a lot of events, not only to provide education, but also to provide networking opportunities for farmers. So we always find that whether it's one of these on-farm workshops or at our annual conference, which we typically hold in January every year, one of the biggest things that people love about attending these events is getting to see old friends, getting to make new friends, and getting to hear what people are up to in the organic farming community, food justice, activism world. So saying that, this year we have decided to officially plan to move our on-farm field days online. That is something we're still figuring out how exactly we're going to do, but essentially we're going to try to replicate the experience of touring a farm and then getting to have a Q&A session with the farm workers, whoever may be present. So those will be available. We're hoping to do our first one in June, but that will be dependent on acquiring all the technology required and everything like that. But I would say at least by July we should have our first one online. So not only do we provide these type of workshops for farmers, but we also do workshops for consumers. This year I was actually planning to do an on-farm event for consumers, but we'll try to do an web-based experience similar to what I described to you for farmers. The emphasis for the consumer outreach is emphasizing the benefits of purchasing local organic foods. So my goal is to demystify what it means for a farm to be organic by explaining the agricultural methods that are required for certification. such as crop rotations or using cover crops. And then I want to draw connections between these methods and the benefits to farmers, farm workers, the environment, and also for eaters, so the health benefits. I have found in the past that when I do consumer events that people really like food demos, so we may do a little series of food demonstrations. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully get some farmers on video showing us what to do with their lovely produce and other farm products. So that's what I've got for you. I am happy to answer any questions that might come up. I'll provide my email information to Professor Traub, but it is balfaro@nofany.org. If you have any questions about what I do, what our organization does, I'm happy to answer those for you. Or if you have other questions just about the Food Studies Master's program, it's a little bit different than the undergraduate program, but there's definitely some thematic similarities. But I will say that definitely the master's program gave me a little bit of an edge in my skill set for these projects that I'm working on. We are embarking on equity work at our organization, and I think that a lot of the social justice components of the food studies program really helped me to understand those concepts in order to apply them in practice, as well as the data analysis skills. So Dr. Welsh's research methods class was really helpful to me in working with data sets and trying to take that information and interpret it for farmers and for consumers. So I hope you're enjoying the food studies program. I really enjoyed when I TA'd the agroecology class, so I hope you're enjoying the readings and the instruction from Professor Traub. She is a great farmer, as I'm sure y'all have figured out through her instruction. Yep, don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. Thanks.